Hello there everybody and welcome back to Movie Squirm. Today I'm going to be reviewing the 1997 film I Know What You Did Last Summer, and this is directed by Jim Gillespie and stars Jennifer Love Hewitt, Freddie Prinze Jr., Ryan Felipe and Sarah Michelle Gellar. When four friends run over and kill a stranger, they decide to get rid of the body and keep what happened to themselves. However, a year later, our characters receive notes revealing that someone knows their secret and is hellbent on revenge. Now guys, just let you know there are going to be spoilers ahead for this movie. But also, if you see me sweating here and there, it is absolutely roasting today, which is quite fitting for a movie titled I Know What You Did Last Summer Now we do have a new I Know What You Did Last Summer movie on the horizon titled I Know What You Did Last Summer. Kind of hate it when they do that. They did it with Scream, and it was Scream 5, of course. Halloween, now everyone refers to it as Halloween 2018. But I've always kind of liked this movie. I watched it about 5 years ago on a rewatch. I'd seen it before in the 90s, but I remember liking it then. So I was really looking forward to giving this a revisit. So let's get into it.
What are you waiting for, huh? What are you waiting for?
Well, this is just a product of the 90s, isn't it? A bunch of high schoolers getting into a little bit of a trouble with a serial killer there. Also, it has the same poster as those 90s movie posters now, doesn't it? But it's just weird. I can't really describe why it has a 90s feel. You just watch movies like Scream, Halloween H2O, The Faculty, and you know it's a product of the time just by looking at it. But I really do like this cool little story we have here. This is written by Kevin Williamson of Scream fame, of course. But I think the way he just creates this highly pressurized situation at the start of the movie that is totally accidental and it could happen to anyone. But all these characters have got mixed reactions and mixed emotions on what to do here and how to overcome it. I mean, I really like the back and forth between the characters on what to do here. They could probably get away with manslaughter / murder, whatever you want to call it. But do they really want to carry that burden for the rest of their lives, knowing that they killed someone and did not report it? So there's a bit of conflict there between the four characters. And look, I personally would have reported it, you know, but it asks you as a movie viewer to ask yourself what you would do in that situation. And like I said, I would probably report it because I couldn't live with myself knowing that I killed someone. But I bet you there's a lot of people out there who will do what the characters do in the movie and try and get away with it. Maybe even you who's watching. Now, this is a little personal thing to do with this movie, and I don't know if anyone is the same here. I don't know if this is a common thing, but I've actually had dreams in the past where I've killed somebody or I've done something really bad in the past and the police are kind of closing in on me all these years later. And then I wake up in fits of sweat, like I am now. And I'm just like, oh, thank God that wasn't real. It's kind of a nightmare, really. But, you know, it also feels very much like this movie where I'm like, oh, could I really go 20 years down the line knowing that someone may find out? You know, I'd rather just get it over with and take the rap, basically. So, yeah, like I said, the movie does really give good discourse and, you know, makes you think a little bit about the whole situation in general. And when we jump to a year later, it really does feel like the burden is getting to these characters. It feels like their lives are not going the way they wanted. I mean, Jennifer Love Hewitt's character Julie just seems absolutely miserable in this film. You can tell that it's really getting to her. She thinks about it every single day. You know, Sarah Michelle Gellar's character Helen had aspirations to go to New York, and she did, but it all came crumbling down. Didn't quite work out, so she comes back to work in her father's shop. Freddie Prinze Jr.'s character is basically just followed in the path of his father there. I'm not saying that's a bad thing or anything, but is it really what he wanted to do? Become this fisherman, which is so typical of this town and what all the young men are going to do there. And there was two couples at the start of the movie there, and they're not together no more. They're all single, so that didn't all pan out. It's only really Ryan Felipe's character who doesn't seem fazed by the whole situation. And I really like the ripple effect that is explored here when you see other families grieved for their loved ones. So they think they've killed this character called David Egan. And Julie and Helen go and visit this David Egan's, was it sister, I believe it was. And you can just tell, like, that she is not over the whole situation, and it's saying what happened to the family and how all the family were coping, and they just couldn't get over it. And it makes you realize that the guilt that Julie and Helen and the other characters have been carrying here hits even harder now, because they've really not just killed this guy, but they've affected his whole family. So I really like the way the movie touches on that. I really do like this quartet of characters that the movie focuses on here. Sarah Michelle Gellar, who was every guy's crush in the 90s. Believe me, I went to school at the time, and all the lads knew Sarah Michelle Gellar was. She is like this beauty queen in the movie. She's like the nicest looking girl at school and everything like that. And people may typecast her to be like this spoiled brat of a character, but no, it's not. I mean, there's one scene where she doesn't really look like she's getting much attention from her parents at home, so you kind of feel a bit sorry for her there. But she's a good friend to Julie, and she's got a great heart, and she was just very likable. But she can sometimes be mistaken for the main protagonist at times as well. She takes up a hell of a lot of screen time, even in the third act. I mean, that's mostly all her. But Julie, played by Jennifer Love Hewitt, is another good character, a great protagonist to lead this movie, because she always wants to do the right thing. She's not really, happy with what they did back then in that last summer, just leaving that body and, trying to forget about it all. And she also wants to get to the bottom of who this person is sending the characters the note saying, I know what you did last summer. So you kind of get behind her for the whole mystery side of things. And I even liked Ryan Phillippe's character, who is this total asshole in the movie, but it's entertaining to watch him scream and shout at everyone all the time. He's the main spoiled brat of the film, this rich kid and everything. But you do sort of like him a little bit there. He's not annoying. He's not unlikable, even though he's an asshole, basically. And Freddie Prinze Jr., yeah, he's okay. I gotta say, I really do like the look of the fisherman character here as well. This guy's going around slaying everyone. He had the cool ass look with his dark trench coat and dark hat and everything, just hiding his face under the hat there, and that hook for a hand. Awesome. Not really quite sure why he isn't a more popular horror movie villain, but yeah, I mean, it's just maybe these movies, they're just not as big as Nightmare on Elm Street or anything, are they? But I really like how he blends into the surroundings of this town of Southport, because it's a whole sort of fisherman's town there, and lots of people have the same clothing. There's even a scene later on where it looks like there's 6 or 7 fishermen as this parade's going on and everything. So yeah, I kind of dig the killer in this movie. It's kind of like there's a whole theme going on there of the sort of fisherman town and everything. There's even an urban legend of this fisherman character that is told at the start of the movie. So even though he's coming for these characters a year later, kind of feels like he's been around forever there with the history of this town. This film is also very well paced as well. I had to stop halfway through the film to get a drink there, and I thought I was like 30 minutes in. So I paused it, looked at the DVD player, and it said 1 hour in. I couldn't believe it. I was like, holy shit, there's in the third act nearly already. And when I come back, not to mention the movie carries on moving very quickly with a great third act to boot. By the way, can we call this a holiday horror film now? It takes place on the 4th of July, and when we jump a year later, we take place on the 4th of July again. I mean, I'm not American or anything, but is that a holiday horror? Maybe I'm scratching there. Now, just before the negatives here, I just want to say that I could not help but think of Scary Movie during nearly the whole runtime of this film. Now, it's not the movie's fault, of course. This came before Scary Movie, but Scary Movie mocks this film so much. I mean, when they were moving the dead body at the start, I was fully expecting someone to say, I'll grab his ass. Yeah, I mean, you just can't help but think of that film. So yeah, just a quick side note there, I suppose. Now, one big problem with this film, guys, getting onto the negatives here, is the kills, which is a very unfortunate negative to have if you are a slasher movie. Now, the story does save that a little bit there, but because a lot of slasher films don't have too much story, but I can't help but notice it as a slasher fan. I mean, a lot of the kills here are off screen, or it's just kind of cut away and a bit of blood will spray across the wall. There's nothing creative here. There's nothing really memorable apart from one scene where this guy is dragged across the table through a hook going in his chin. That was awesome, but we just don't get any more of that whatsoever. I wish we did, but maybe that's another reason why this fisherman character hasn't really gone down in horror folklore, because his kills are just not memorable at all, really. It's not like Freddy Krueger putting a chick through a fucking TV screen, is it? I mean, yeah, very, very let down by the kills here, unfortunately. And the whole reveal of the killer is a little bit of a letdown. It suffers from the original Friday the 13th syndrome here. We're having this killer called Ben Willis, who is not in the movie till the last 15 minutes. So we find out that this David Egan character killed Ben Willis's daughter in a car crash. So Ben Willis goes to the wherever David Egan was, that outback or on the cliffs, and kills him. And on his way back down, the characters run over Ben Willis and kill him. So that's why he was there in the middle of nowhere, basically. So that's a cool little reveal, I suppose, in that aspect. But as a reveal of a whodunit movie, it doesn't really work, because constantly characters are accused of being the fisherman killer, sending the notes to these characters and stuff, and you constantly question who it could be throughout the movie. And it's just this guy who shows up in the last 15 minutes. So I do feel like the audience is kind of cheated there. Although Muse Watson does play a good psychotic killer, I suppose, when he comes onto the screen. But with that reveal and the characters actually killing a killer in the end, it makes our characters not feel too guilty about that. But I think it makes you try and sympathize with them even more, that what they did might have been the right thing to do because this guy's an asshole. But no, I think that sends the wrong message. They did a hit and run, and they shouldn't have. They should have reported it to the police. But it makes you feel like by the end, because it was Ben Willis who they killed, that it didn't really matter. There's also a few dumb horror jump scares here, like someone sitting in a car and then someone will bang on the window, or an old hand on the shoulder. Yeah, I mean, I know it's a product of the 90s, but we still see it today in movies, I suppose. However, I got to call bullshit on one moment here that just made me ask me to suspend my disbelief so much, and I couldn't. So Julie is driving along and she hears something in the boot of her car. She goes to the boot of the car, and I can't remember if the guy's name was Max, but it's Leonard from The Big Bang Theory. He is in the boot of the car, dead, basically. And there's hundreds of crabs surrounding his body. So Julie screams, run down the street to her friends, and when they come back, the body is gone, and there is one crab remaining in the boot. But not only that, the boot doesn't have a mark in it. There's no mess whatsoever. It looks like the fisherman done a mini valet on the boot there as he removed the body and the crabs, all in broad daylight. I find that very hard to believe that he done it in such quick succession with no one seeing him whatsoever. Never mind leaving the car absolutely pristine. I'm just going to go ahead and rate this movie now, guys. I'm going to give I Know What You Did Last Summer a 7 out of 10. Despite some flaws there, not having too many great kills, this is still a very easy to watch slasher movie with a cool little story attached. Okay, guys, at the end of these reviews, I always like to leave a little fun fact. Now, a fun fact that I Know What You Did Last Summer is that Kevin Williamson actually wrote the script for this film before writing the script for Scream, but he couldn't sell the script to any movie studios. But when Scream was a huge success, Columbia Pictures instantly bought this screenplay and turned it into a movie to sort of, follow the hype train there on these newfound slashers, basically. Okay, guys, hope you all enjoyed this review. What do you think of I Know What You Did Last Summer? I'm going to try and fit in I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. I'll always know what you did last summer. I will be reviewing the new I Know What You Did Last Summer. So look out for those, guys. If you like horror, please give this video a like and subscribe to this channel. It really helped me out. You all take care, and I'll see you all in the next video.